Hello and welcome to TCM Sunday School. Okay, as you can see, it's a bit busy here this morning. We've got Katie and Sam with us and they're Milo's friends. Isn't this exciting, Milo, that your friends have come to help? Okay, well, they're here because Milo is going to help us tell the story later along with Katie and Sam. And it might be that Katie and Sam get into a little spot of bother later and they might need you, Milo, to help them out. Okay? We all set for that? You're not too sure. It'll be fine, okay? So Katie and Sam, you're going to disappear now because you're going to take part later, okay? Say bye, Milo. Right, now then, what I've got first for you, Milo, are some questions, okay? I want to ask you about what sort of superhero you would like to be. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions, okay, and then you have to show me number one finger or two fingers to help you decide what sort of superhero you want to be, okay? So practice 1, 2, okay? Show me one finger if you would like a cape and two fingers if you would like a mask. You want a mask? No capes. Okay, right, would you like red underpants, number 1? Or blue underpants, number 2. Blue underpants, good choice, okay? Would you like to be able to fly, number 1, or would you like to be super fast? That would be 2. You want to be able to fly, but you decided no keeps. Okay, well, all right then, we'll try that. Would you like to have a skill in being able to be invisible, number 1, or would you like to be able to climb absolutely anything, a bit like Spider-Man? That's number 2. Oh, tough choice. Number 1, okay, you'd like to be invisible. That would be really handy, wouldn't it? Okay, now for your weapon of choice. Laser or slime? Number 1, you'd like lasers. Okay, a bit like Darth Vader from last week. Yes, okay, good. Last one, would you like a sidekick, as in like Batman and Robin, or would you like a really cool car? Number 1 for sidekick, 2 for the cool car. Now, Batman has both, doesn't he? But you're going to go with just the cool car. Okay, what an amazing superhero you would be, Milo. Sounds great. So why are we thinking about superheroes? Well, of course, we're looking at our Bible heroes, aren't we, from the Hall of Faith. And this week, we're looking at a superhero because he saw so much and had to do so much, and he had to have so much faith in God because of what God was asking him to do. Now, we met him briefly last week when he was a baby, but this week we're looking at what happened to Moses when he grew up. And what was it that made Moses so special and was able to be in the Hall of Faith? Okay, now Moses has got an amazing story to tell, but there's 3 big things that he had to do. And this is where Katie and Sam, you need to think about Katie and Sam, Milo, okay, because we're going to pretend that Millie has locked them in her cage, okay? And Millie, the dog, is saying to you that you have to make a choice between Katie and Sam and leaving them in Millie's cage, in her crate, or are you going to give up the chocolate biscuits? Big basket of chocolate biscuits. What's going to be worth more to you, the chocolate biscuits or Katie and Sam? I think what you're going to choose is a hard one, I know. You're going to choose Katie and Sam, aren't you? Because that's the right thing to do. Well done, Milo. That was a hard choice, wasn't it? Well, Moses had to make the same sort of choice because, as we know, he was actually an Israelite. He was a Hebrew and they were his people, but he was brought up in the palace. Do you remember? But Moses knew that he needed to make a choice, either keep all the luxuries and the royal lifestyle or give it all up so that he could save his people. And that's what Moses did. Okay, the next thing Milo, the challenge is that if you were able to ask someone to unlock the door because they have the key, let's think about how scary that might be. For example, do you think it would be really scary to ask this person for the key? Yeah, I think it would be a bit scary, don't you? Do you think it would be scary to ask this person? Yes, that would be very scary, wouldn't it? Do you think it would be scary to ask this person? No, we quite like Cinderella, don't we? Okay. Do you think it would be scary to ask this person? Oh, yes, that would be very scary. Not really. No, apologies, Helen. We're just joking. Okay. Moses had to go and ask someone super scary to ask for the Israelites to be made free. And his name was Pharaoh. But Moses was full of faith and he knew it's what God wanted him to do. And so he did it. Then there was another big thing that Moses had to do. Eventually, Pharaoh let the people go, let the Israelites go. But do you remember the Egyptians were chasing them and they came to the Red Sea and they were stuck because they couldn't cross the sea because it was too big and the Egyptians were coming up behind them. But do you remember in the story how God parted the Red Sea and there were walls of water either side and the people had to walk through? I guess it might be a little bit like this, Milo. How would you feel if I tipped this glass of water over your head? Shall we have a go? Oh, I think you should be brave like Moses was brave and all the Israelites. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, look at that. You were brave. Well done, Milo. So Moses was an amazing hero of faith. But Moses did have some wobbles. And we're going to find out about those right now. See you in a little bit. Bye. So I've no idea where Katie or Sam or Milo are. They could be up to anything causing chaos, no doubt. I will find out later. But for now, let's get on with our story about Moses. Okay, now I mentioned that Moses sometimes felt a little bit wobbly. So what did I mean about that? Well, sometimes Moses was afraid and he would try to wiggle out of having to do some of the things that God was asking him to do. See, we like to think of heroes as being big and strong, taking everything in their stride. But Moses wasn't like that. And that's okay because Moses wasn't the power behind any of these amazing things. It was God's power. You see, God likes to use the wobbly, weak things because it shows up his power and his strength best. Imagine if Captain America did all the things that were asked of Moses. Everybody would be like, wow, this is so amazing. He's so strong. He's so powerful. But because God chose an ordinary man like Moses, it was God's power that was seen. People recognized God's power and not Moses. Do you know, sometimes God's going to ask us to do big, difficult things in life. You might have a friend who's being bullied and you know that the right thing would be to stand up for them. Maybe you think it would be easier to tell a little lie rather than telling the truth. But God will help you in these things. He will give you power and strength to do what is good and right. And he did that with Moses. He showed Moses the right way to go. And he used Moses and he used him to show his own power and his own strength so that the glory went to God and not to Moses. Let me read this. This is from 2 Corinthians and it says, Now we have this treasure in clay jars so that this extraordinary power may be from God and not from us. Think about that. Think about being a clay jar. Here's one I'm in the middle of making at the moment. It's a bit soft and a bit squidgy, but I'm making it into a pot. Now, it doesn't look great, but it will be fit for a purpose. It can be used. But just like when this clay dries, if I dropped it, it would break because it's fragile, it's not quite perfect, it's a bit lumpy and bumpy, but it still has a purpose. And God is described in the Bible as a potter, and we are like the clay, and He makes us unique but fit for purpose. And just like this pot has some treasure at the bottom, God wants to take our lives. He wants to dwell in our lives. He wants to live in us so that His power can shine out of our lives. Even when we're feeling fragile and wobbly and weak and afraid, that's when God's power shows up the best. So remember this week, why don't you have a go at making a clay pot out of some Play-Doh or something similar and find some jewels that you can put inside to remind you that God's power dwells in you and He lives in you and He wants to use you. Have a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time when we look at another Bible hero from the Hall of Faith. Bye.